Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone's doing well. It's truly a pleasure and honor to be sitting with our brother Malcolm here. Before I get going, first of all, assalamu alaikum, brother Malcolm. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam, brother. I'm doing good. You know, I kind of was just giving you the rundown, but it's my first time in Jersey. Never been here. I was looking over the water, looking at New York, and didn't know it was New York until Muhammad told me. But it's been good. I got a little bite to eat on the way here. It was incredible, and man, just the way you guys have been treating me already has been beautiful.
God bless you. It's an honor for us to have you with us. So give him a round of applause, New Jersey, for coming down here for the first time. But Malcolm, why don't you first tell me how you got the nickname The Machine? Where'd that come from? And then tell me how you got those waves.
Well, I got the waves from a lot of brushing, but the nickname was really simple, man. My coach back home, he's like a father to me. I call him Pops. He's the first coach I ever had, and up until 2 months ago, when I relocated to Florida, you know, he's been my head coach. And I was cutting weight for my very first fight, and he just had a eureka moment. He said, "You should be Malcolm the Machine Wellmaker," and I didn't question it. I ran with it, and even to this day, when I fight in the UFC, they call me Malcolm the Machine Wellmaker.
There you go, there you go. Round of applause. Brother Malcolm, I'm sure that you know one of the brothers that we look up to, we read about, one of the most influential figures in our tradition in this country, also holds and hosts your name, right? How has he, none other than our brother Malcolm X, rahmatullahi alayhi, how has he impacted your life?
You know, so funny enough, I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks because I had a long drive to and from work. And one of the books I listened to was the autobiography of Malcolm X. And at the time, this was years before I took Shahada or even was considering being a Muslim. But his story was just fascinating. I mean, obviously, his upbringing, the type of environment he grew up in, and then the way he found Islam when he was, you know, incarcerated. But somebody from his background to be so inspired by the religion, to become such a knowledgeable, articulate speaker that stood up for his community and did so many great things for the people around him. And aside from all that being inspiring, because of my, you know, ability to relate to him and his background, when I read the part about how he actually took Hajj, you know, and his eyes were open to what real Islam was, and how he was able to, you know, walk away from everything he grew up with, everything he held on to, and embrace the truth and bring it back to the country. It's just something so incredibly strong that I admire about him. And to this day, man, his story is probably one of the most moving stories I've listened to, read in my life.
Subhanallah. Takbir. Brother Malcolm, by the takbir is Allahu Akbar. I'm sure you know now. It's not doesn't mean anything, you know, like how they taught us in Fox News.
No. I learned a lot.
It doesn't mean kaboom.
Yes.
You know, but Malcolm, you know, that question, that answer about Malcolm X and how he's influenced your life, and we're here today because, of course, you're an influential figure that many of the youngsters that are sitting here can take lessons from, can learn from. That your growth in your career is not independent from your growth in your religion. Rather, they're quite complementary. Oftentimes, people believe the value added in our life are only those things that you can see. Someone is winning, someone is earning more wealth, someone is gaining more fame. We consider that to be value added. But the truth is, the value added is also that which no one can see but makes you who you are. And that's what Islam does for us. And today we're sitting here as a UFC fighter, but what makes you you is not just the fact that you're a UFC fighter. It's the beautiful journey that you experienced that brought you to the submission of Allah and to the submission of God. So for all of us sitting here, can you give us maybe a quick rundown of what that journey was like and what inspired you? Not so that anyone that is sitting here who's a non-Muslim or is a Christian or a Jew or from a different background says that I need to become a Muslim, but rather simply to, in front of all the Muslims sitting here, remind us how fortunate we also are and how lucky we are that we were given this from birth for many of us. So if you can highlight this for me.
You know, I'll try to condense it, you know, but I was already knocking on the door of the UFC. You know, I was undefeated. I had a ton of knockouts. I was signed to major management. I was being promised, you know, a shot on Contender Series and then, you know, big UFC debuts and stadiums, which went on to happen. But at the time, the girl that I was dating, I remember having a conversation with her because I got into martial arts really late. You know, I had my first session of training period at the age of 23. Yeah, and I just wanted to get in shape. It snowballed into what it is now. And so I got signed to the UFC at the age of 30. And I remember telling her prior to making my UFC debut that, like, you know, my career at best, you know, is going to be a decade, you know, and after that, I didn't want to be a shell of myself. I didn't want to, you know, not know how to be happy and content with life if I didn't have competition. And I talked about how if I had religion, you know, how I knew strong religious people, it would be easy for me to live life in a fulfilling way. And I was born in a Christian family, culturally, more so than anything. You know, my granddaddy was a deacon in the Baptist church. A lot of people that I admired growing up, like Pops at the gym I was telling you about, very strong Christian man. A lot of people in the construction jobs I worked that I looked up to were strong Christian men. But for me, you know, I spent a little bit of time looking into Christianity. You know, I learned a little bit about the Bible. And I just didn't feel like that resolve in my heart to commit to it and to be able to get out of it what I was looking for. And my wife, even though at the time she wasn't Muslim, she translated Arabic in the military. She was from Buffalo, New York. She knew a bunch of Muslim families. She sent me a bunch of short form videos on different religions like Hindu, Buddhism, Islam, stuff like that. And I watched the one on Islam and just learned basic facts about, you know, Muslims, that we believe in Jesus, peace be upon him, and the oneness of God, and I was captivated by it. And I went and got a Quran, read through so much of it, and just before I even finished the Quran, I was looking for the local masjid. And
You were able to finish reading the entire Quran?
Yes, I read about 2/3 of it before I took Shahada, and then within the next month or so, I was able to finish it.
SubhanAllah. Takbir. Round of applause for Brother Malcolm. And I'm saying that because, and I'm not saying that because, you know, just because the fact that you read it, but there's many of us, you know, that were given the beautiful bounty and blessing of being born into this faith. But, you know, truth be told, we don't end up getting the chance to read the entirety of the Quran. So the fact that you read it in the initial part of your journey already puts you much further ahead of so many of us. So may God bless you. Sorry, I cut you off. Continue.
But, you know, just from that point forward, when Islam entered my life, man, it made everything make sense for me. You know, I found that ability to be content with what I had, even though I wanted more. It made me, you know, be at peace with, you know, knowing why I might not get what I'm wanting at the time, or why I might be going through hardship, and then understanding that things are just temporary and this life is just a test. It just made everything make sense for me and put so much peace in my heart. And it just changed the way that I moved. It changed the way that I looked at things. It changed the way that I took my losses, and it made a big impact on the people around me. So I've been so fortunate and blessed to be, you know, guided to the straight path. Alhamdulillah, brother.
Alhamdulillah. One more round of applause for Brother Malcolm. Okay, I'm going to transition from your journey to accepting Islam and joining and being a part of the faith that you now join. I'm sure you still have many family members and perhaps so many friends that are from different faiths. How has that affected your relationships? Has it strengthened it? Has it made you a better son, a better sibling, a better husband? Because Islam doesn't live in a silo. It has an impact on everything around us. It's an ecosystem. So how has that affected your relationships?
You know, initially it was tough. You know, everybody at my gym back home, I'm from Augusta, Georgia, which is kind of like in what they call the Bible Belt. You know, it's very strong culturally Christian, you know, black and white communities. And so when I took Shahada and became Muslim, it hit a lot of people funny, and a lot of people would kind of avoid the topic generally with me. But man, I spent so much time listening to lectures, becoming as educated as I could on the topic, and handling things in such a way that I feel like I became a representation for Islam to a lot of people around me who didn't personally know Muslims. I know a lot of my teammates who are very strong Christians, we've had private conversations where they've asked questions they've always wondered the answers to, or they may have seen something floating around on the internet that they've never been able to get a Muslim's take on it. And I've been the person that's been able to give them another perspective and make it so much easier for them to digest that they can love somebody from a different faith. And I mean, aside from that, man, my wife, you know, she took Shahada. My brother took Shahada. Some of my best friends behind me came to the masjid and took Shahada. So it's been good, and I just pride myself on being able to represent Islam to the people around me who, like myself, just didn't know any of them personally.
But Malcolm, transitioning from that journey of yours, you are now, you know, have been in the UFC for quite a long time. You have some big fights coming up. What has that journey been like? And if you can also perhaps spend some time on like those wins and losses, because everyone that is sitting here goes through some small W's and we go through some big L's, right? We go through wins and we go through losses. But when we look at people like you on the screen, or the brother coming up and Habib, you know, when we look at people like you, sometimes we think people like you are untouchables, right? But you guys also go through wins and losses. You guys also go through your ups and downs, even in your career. So can you elaborate perhaps on what gives you perspective, what gives you strength and stability, even in the lows of your life, and what allows you to remain humble in the highs of your life as well?
You know, I think one of the biggest blessings, well, another one is the UFC, a lot of MMA is a lot of Muslims, so I find myself in these environments where if I give them salam, like I immediately, you know, find my way in the door. So that's been incredible. It's always easy to make friends like that. But honestly, man, with Islam being a strong part of the way that I look at life, the way that I look at my career, and the way that I identify myself, it makes it easy for me to accept that it's not about winning. You know, at one point, I feel like my identity was in, I'm the guy that knocks people out. I'm the guy that wins fights. I'm the guy that everybody wants to be around because, you know, I have these big moments. But when I introduced Islam into my life and I introduced Islam into my identity, it saved me from the incredible downfall that comes when I had my first loss. And, you know, I'm thankful that when I did have my first loss, I had Islam to fall back on because, I mean, we've seen so many big stars who have great careers, more than I can even hope to imagine to have, and when they lose that part of themselves, you know, they have this huge downward spiral. So for me, man, it's just easy to lean back into my belief and to go to the masjid and still be embraced by the brothers the same way when I get a knockout or when I go and lose a fight. None of that changes. None of that when I come home at night is any different as long as I lean back on my faith.
What's been your favorite part of your career so far? Which knockout, which fight, you know? Tell us a little bit about that as well.
It had to be my second fight in the UFC. You know, I had my debut in April of 2025, and then a 6-week turnaround. They was having a fight in Atlanta, Georgia, just a couple hours from my hometown. And the UFC scrambled hard to find an opponent for me because it was such short turnaround. I had a spectacular debut, so it wasn't an easy fight for anybody. And they signed a guy named Chris Mutino, who was a big name. A lot of people knew who he was, and he was known for having an iron chin. And
you showed him who's Iron Mike.
Yeah, I did, man. I went out there and I got a first-round knockout, and it was in Atlanta, and the crowd was like all my family and my friends. And at that time, brother, I just became like this huge prospect. I got so much love, and that moment felt so incredible. And then after the fight, I remember going to the hotel lobby, and I was in there till 4 in the morning, taking pictures, signing things, hanging out with my friends and family, and it was just so incredible. I still got like the picture from that night back home on this little digital picture screen at home. It's incredible.
May God give you many more moments like that.
Inshallah.
And on October 10th, right? Round of applause for our brother. And your next fight is October 10th.
Yes, sir. October 10th at the Apex. Yes, sir.
There you go. For you guys, for those of you who want to go to Las Vegas and not gamble,
yeah, that's right.
Just go for the fight. You're more than welcome to join Brother Malcolm.
Please.
But the last question that we have for you is, rather I have two more. I'm gonna just quickly throw in one more. What is your favorite part of being a Muslim?
I think my favorite part about being Muslim, in my personal experience, is I have a couple of them, like this moment, right? Like I got on the phone with Sufyan, Omar, and they're telling me they want me to speak at an event with Khabib. I'm like, why, right? You know what I mean? I just feel so undeserving of the love that the community brings me. When I converted to Islam, my wife shortly converted afterwards. You know, every brother was saying, you guys need to get married. You guys need to get married, right? And it was a big leap for me, and it was hard. And I remember sitting down with the wali for my wedding, and they was asking, like, what objections do you have? And I was like, man, I'm broke. I can't afford a wedding. They didn't let me mention money again after that. Like, and at the time, like, I still wasn't a big name. Not a lot of people in the masjid knew me, but they held a wedding ceremony for me. They catered it, told me to invite as many people as I wanted to. They gave me hundreds and hundreds of dollars of gifts and cards. You know, I went home opening those cards. It was emotional for me and my wife. Coming to the masjid for the very first time, I didn't know any of the Muslims there. I went because I was seeking the truth, and the way I look is so much different than most of the people that I saw there. But like, man, the way they treated me, the way they walked me into the prayer halls, like these moments that I have that I feel so undeserving of are just huge to me. And that's probably my favorite thing about Islam, is that, like, I think I might have the least knowledge in the room, and I might have made the least amount of prayers in the room, but like just the way that people embrace me, love me, and make me feel like I'm no different from them, and we make salah right next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, is just incredible, and I love it.
Brother Malcolm, man, you speaking really, I mean, you taking some classes before.
No,
you know, man,
I've been blessed,
you're an eloquent brother, man. Like our brother Malcolm, you know, may God be pleased with him. And may God use you to also bring peace, unity in all of our communities, and also to be able to spread the beautiful faith in ways that are impactful towards people and not overwhelming. If there was someone like you a few years ago, before April 2024, who was searching for the truth, seeking the truth. Many people here are still seeking the truth. Some of us may also profess faith in God, but we might not know why we profess faith in God. So if you were to speak to that person who was like you 2-3 years ago, what would be your elevator pitch to tell them and motivate them that make that leap of faith and be with God? What would that be?
Man, you know, for that person, I encourage you to just submerge yourself in Islam, man. Ask the questions. Like, this faith is so, you know, encouraging of you asking questions so that you can find the truth that you're looking for. And that was something that was so foreign to me. There was not a single question, a single objection that me, and especially my wife had a laundry list of things that she wanted to talk to a sister at the masjid about them, you know, that she didn't ask and was not able to find an answer and find peace with. And I encourage whoever that person is to look for it, and to, you know, even for me, it was a 20-minute bobblehead cartoon video talking about Islamic theology that got me into it, you know, like, you know, just look for it, talk to a brother, and you will find what you're looking for. If you have the true intention in your heart to find that truth, it's there. And yeah, get after it, brother.
There you go, man. Okay, I'm going to ask you this final question, then we're going to jump off the stage. Who's your favorite UFC fighter right now? You know, so now
am I wrong if I say Islam Makhachev?
Hey, Islam it is, man.
I might pick him. I might pick him over Habib, man. He's knocked some folks out, and I love that guy. And
this dude don't have no mercy, man.
Brother, he's incredible. You know. I'm rooting for him, and him and Habib, man. Both of those guys have been big influences on me and my seeking into the faith. So either one, you can interchange the names, and I'm happy with either one.
In the back in the green room, we're going to tell Habib that you chose Islam.
I'll be ready for it. It's all good.
Guys, give Brother Malcolm a loud round of applause. May thank him. May God bless him. Give him a New Jersey welcome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Brother Malcolm.
Thank you.
And we're always going to be here for you. Thank you so much. Take care, man. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.